Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're so glad that you've been able to be with us. My name is Julia Ellergott, and I am the Interim Executive Director for Defend Dignity. Our presentation today is done by us and then also in partnership with Evangelical Fellowship of Canada's Faith for Public Life Centre and also with Ally Global. So it's great to have that partnership as we present this video series to you. As our evening unfolds, please feel free to use the Q&A function, which is at the bottom of your screen. We will have a time for a Q&A at the very end, so please be sure to ask your questions throughout the time. You can even upvote from that place as well. So please be sure to do that this evening, and we'll answer as many of those questions as we possibly can. In the chat right now, we'll also drop the link to our resource page, and that resource page will give you all the information for tonight's webinar and also additional resources that you can refer back to in the days ahead. Our speaker this evening is Dr. Mandy Sanchez with Culture Reframed. She has been at Culture Reframed for many years and does extensive research on online harms to kids. And so tonight she's going to present to us AI and how it's intertwined with pornography and how does that harm our kids and what do we need to watch out and be careful for. So welcome, Mandy. We're so glad that you can join us and share your expertise with us.
Thank you so much, Julia, and thank you so much for having me. We're going to get right into it. Okay. Julia, are you able to see my full screen?
Yes, yeah, I can see it.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I was blanked out for a second. Great. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I also wanted to talk a little bit about social media. I know that that was a topic that I presented on a little while ago, but it's so relevant here. So I do want to brush up on social media as well. So artificial intelligence with pornography and some tips for parents too. So I want to start out with a content warning because the material that I'm discussing is going to be a little sensitive. So if you have littles around, make sure that your screen is in viewing view of yourself and that you have that you're taking care of your audio because I am going to be discussing topics such as pornography, sexual violence, coercion, abuse, and trauma. So that discretion is advised, and also some self-care. So if you have some time afterwards, please drop some questions into the chat. We will have some time for discussion and take a walk, get a breath of fresh air, take a drink, but that self-care is super encouraged. Basically, porn is everywhere. This is what one team told researchers writing a report on kids and porn for the Office of the Children's Commissioner in England. Hypersexualized and pornified images do seem to be everywhere our kids are. They're used to advertise so many things, from shoes and ironically, clothing, like these that show up constantly on social media platforms, and this one that I myself took at the mall last month while I was shopping for shoes with my kiddos. I asked my soon to be 14-year-old, what do you think they're selling? And he said, definitely not shirts, but ironically, they were. Here's a 24-hour food delivery service ad campaign available to any kid who wants to order some subs or sushi. And of course, Sabrina Carpenter for Ulta Beauty, because we all deserve a better bang. We often see objectification and dismemberment ad campaigns that seem innocuous, but that's what contributes to the normalization of pornified culture. So when kids see ads like these, it's no big deal because they're for perfume and clothing. This Dolce& and Gabbana ad at the bottom here depicting gang rape ran for 8 months on social media platforms before finally being taken down. The reality is that most young people will inevitably be exposed to pornography. 1 in 3 kids say that they've seen explicit, hardcore porn by age 12, which equates to roughly 25 million children in the US alone. And much of this content is misleading, degrading, and objectifying. In the majority of cases, they're stumbling upon pornography accidentally. It either appeared or popped up online or was shared with them. How, you might ask? Smartphones. According to the latest Pew Research Center data, most kids own their own smartphones by age 11, and nearly 40% of kids under 2 years old interact with smartphones, according to their parents. So, what are kids doing on their phones? Most are using social media platforms. These stats are out of the US, but are representative in most industrialized countries. It's estimated that more than 75% of teens are using social media and messaging services even before the age of 8, even though most social media platforms have a minimum age requirement of 13 years. Academic research is mixed when it comes to social media, and it's important to view these social media platforms not as good or bad because we lose a lot of kiddos and we lose a lot of parents along the way, but as safe to unsafe and healthy to unhealthy use. Of course, there are some benefits like increased socialization and self expression, communication skills, access to resources and supports, especially for our LGBTQ kiddos and those who live in rural areas, and staying informed. But we want to take a look at some of the research showing increased anxiety, depression, stress, isolation, fostered by false connections and unrealistic expectations. So let's take a quick look at a few of the most popular social media platforms among youth today. And young people are on these social media platforms for entertainment, to socialize, and build communities with new friends. Importantly, research from Thorne shows that 1 in 3 young people said that the friends that they make online are among their closest confidants. And this is critical when understanding the vulnerabilities of young people. So we'll start with Snapchat. 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds use Snapchat, and this was originally marketed as an app called Peekaboo to send and receive nudes. So it's not too far away from the sexting app that kids call it today. And kiddos are spending about 30 minutes a day sending snaps or photos that disappear in seconds after being viewed, even though we know many are taking screenshots of these snaps that make them last a lifetime. The divining feature is the filter, this ability to transform a 10-year-old something into a 20-year-old something and then back again in seconds. Safety concerns are also in this real-time snap map and the snap streaks, where young people are qualifying their sense of self through the quantity of their streaks. Next, we have Instagram, another photo sharing app where you can post videos, reels, and stories. Close to 90% of teens are spending about an hour a day, often scrolling through images of idealized lives and comparing themselves to others. We know that the average teen has 5 Finstas or fake Instagram accounts, but it's not what you might think. Teens create Finstas to post more authentic versions of themselves to a smaller group of friends and family. These accounts, though, are still at risk of exposure, cyberbullying, and dangerous connections. For instance, Collective Shout, a nonprofit charity in Australia, conducted a 15-month investigation of the sexualization of girls on Instagram and found hundreds of images of underage hypersexualized girls like Bella, who's posed here on a bar holding onto a pole. And once users verified that she was 10 years old, the very next comment is circled here in red. It says, "Please open your legs." Well, Collective Shout sent the images and the user comments to Instagram, and none were found to violate their community guidelines. And just last month, an advocate at a child advocacy center in the United States sent me a screenshot of Instagram's new maps that also show real-time locations. She was able to locate her friend right down to the exact hole on the golf course from a picture that was posted in her story. And then we have YouTube. YouTube is the most used digital video platform in the US, and we're often asked about the safer version, YouTube Kids. So, in our own research, we found channels like the one displayed here that's dedicated to turning popular US children's cartoons like Bubble Guppies, Mickey Mouse, and PJ Masks into overtly sexualized, pornified recreations. This entire channel, this Aries Kids TV, that by the way, this one video has 2.3 million views, is marketed to kids, yet it features nude dancing and orgies in 4 minutes into the video. Which brings us to TikTok. TikTok is the number one global app used by teens today. It's also now one of the world's most popular search engines, with nearly half of Gen Z users preferring TikTok search over Google. A recent report by Ofcom found that more than a quarter of 5 to 7-year-olds report using TikTok, and a third of them do so unsupervised. Which brings us to this Global Witness investigation. So, what they did just and published this just last month in October. Global Witness set up 7 accounts posing as 13-year-olds on factory reset phones with no search histories and the restricted mode on each of these phones turned off. All they did on each account was go to the search bar to see what terms were being suggested in the search. The point isn't just that TikTok was serving up or showing pornographic content to minors. It's that TikTok search algorithms actively push minors towards pornographic content. And you can see that here, where the very second search suggestion was adults on TikTok, very rude babes because they can't say nude, rude pics. So nude pics. And then over here, hardcore pawn clips, which is hardcore porn. So, in other words, the problem isn't just with content moderation, but also with algorithmic content recommendation. The fact is, kids are being socialized through pop culture media, and the major form of sex ed for young people today is pornography, and they have to search no further than their social media platforms to find it. And here's what they're learning. Mainstream online free pornography teaches kids objectification, sexism, racism, and homophobia. It teaches them unhealthy views of their bodies, sex, and relationship. Also, you never hear consent being asked in pornography. So consent and protection is optional. Also, it teaches that sexual violence not only is normal, but desirable and acceptable. So let's move over to kidfluencers. US surveys and European and Australian surveys consistently show that 1 in 4 members of Gen Z want to become social media influencers who make millions of dollars through brand sponsorships and advertisements. Like Ryan Kaji, who's now 15 years old, famous for his toy reviews. He has 45 billion views on YouTube, and he is worth what, or his parents are worth $100 million. This is Naya White. She's 10 and she's here at Sephora. She has 6 million views on her social media platform. She is part of Gen Alpha's obsession with skincare. That is feeding a $165 billion global skincare industry and produces 10-year-old skinfluencers with 10-step skincare routines that include chemical face peels. I'm not even sure if I took my makeup off last night, but 10-year-olds with 10-step skincare routines. Pediatric dermatologists say that 10-year-olds need three things. They need to wash their face, put on a moisturizer sometimes, and always wear sunscreen. I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention OnlyFans, as it's a major bridge between social media platforms and porn websites. OnlyFans is the fastest growing social media platform today. Most recent studies show that nearly 1.4 million American women aged 18 to 24 are content creators on OnlyFans. Although there is other suitable for work content, OnlyFans is mainly used by those in the porn industry. In fact, it has transformed how porn is made, shared, and consumed online. A majority of the 377 million fans pay to see live stream sex and to interact with millions of registered creators, who, though on average, only bring in about 108 US dollars a month. Enter the world of kids and gaming. There are 3.1 billion gamers worldwide, and 76% of them are under the age of 18. Tweens and teens are spending about 2 hours and 45 minutes a day gaming. Now, the hypersexualization of female characters in video games has been well researched for decades, but it's nevertheless continuing today. This is seen in Grand Theft Auto. Although it's marketed for those over 17, we know young kids say that they play this, and sometimes they report playing it with an older brother or sister, cousin, or even their parents. In this game, you can buy a prostituted woman and get extra points for murdering her. Rockstar Games, who produces Grand Theft Auto, confirms an AI sex robot warehouse in its new Grand Theft Auto 6 that is, quote, not family friendly. And research shows that children who play violent video games are more likely than non-gaming peers to encounter pornography. We're also seeing a new trend in the hypersexualization of female characters in video games, specifically marketed to young children, like those in games like Fortnite, Minecraft, and Roblox. There are Minecraft sex mods and skins where for $7.99 you can create your character with a thong, handcuffs, and yes, a strangulation mark to indicate that you are DTC or down to choke. And in Roblox, played by 25 million children in the US alone, you can enter a 17 and up space and create and invite users to your bed in your favorite lingerie, or you can enter a Roblox condo where you can walk around asking people if they want to have sex. This isn't happening in the real world. It's taking place on a children's gaming platform. And I want to conclude the gaming section with Discord. This is a platform built by gamers for gamers, and it's also been wrought with servers who distribute not suitable for work content, where you can get free porn in many different genres, and in servers that even sell child pornography or teen child pornography with the categories of incest, taboo, and dark web. But this isn't the dark web. It's on a platform where this is the age verification. All you have to do is click the highlighted red button to continue. Now, you tell me, an underage kid who wants to see that not suitable for work content, who wouldn't just click that big red button. Okay, it's time for some cats. That's what I always hear about 15 minutes in. Show me some pictures of cats so I can decompress. So here are some cats. But If you look closely, can you tell me which cats are real? Which cats truly exist? I'll give you a second. They all look pretty real. I know there's a giveaway at the top. Okay, well, how about these faces? Which of these people are truly real? None of these people truly exist. None of them are real. They're all from a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. All of them are AI generated. I sometimes struggle to pick out what's truly AI because it just keeps getting better. So, what is AI? AI is simply a computer system designed to do tasks that usually require human intelligence, like learning and solving problems, recognizing patterns, making decisions, understanding language, or analyzing data. Think of it as making machines smart so that they can think and act in ways similar to a person. As I said, similar to a person, not a person. So, how does it work? The core idea is that AI learns from examples instead of being told every single step. And this is a process called machine learning. So, AI systems are fed large amounts of data. Algorithms analyze the data and find patterns. The system then creates a model based on the patterns found in the data, and then AI generates predictions in the form of outcomes or contents, and that can be text or images, etc. So imagine AI is a student learning a new subject, and we'll just stick with cats here because it just seems to be the thing. So the massive data is the textbook. The AI is given a huge textbook of information. This is the data. So to teach AI to recognize cats, you show it millions of labeled pictures of cats and non-cats. And then the AI reads the textbook, reads it repeatedly, analyzing the data to find patterns. It figures out which features, so the whiskers, the pointed ears, a certain shape, a tail, are common in the cat pictures. And then it learns. When shown a new unlabeled picture, the AI makes a prediction. It says, it's a cat. If it's wrong, it adjusts its internal rules, its algorithms to do better next time. This constant testing and improving is how it learns. So then it makes a smart decision. Once it's trained, it can look at a picture it's never seen before and accurately label it as a cat. It can make a smart decision based on its learned knowledge. And AI isn't a future technology. It's already integrated into many things you probably use. It's in streaming services like Netflix and Spotify. AI tracks what you watch or listen to and finds patterns to recommend new shows or songs that you'll most likely enjoy. It's in voice assistants, and I have to be very softly when I show this because then it'll speak to me here. When you ask it a question, AI uses the natural language processing to understand what you said and figures out the best way to respond. In our navigation, it uses real-time traffic data to predict the fastest route for your trip and suggest detours to avoid traffic jams. I love using Waze, by the way. And AI has learned the patterns of spam emails and automatically sorts them out so you never see them. US nationally representative surveys back in July of this year asked parents of 15 to 16-year-olds how they are using AI. And a majority say they use AI as a search engine or to help with schoolwork or studying. They also use it in creative projects or in talking to chatbots. And there's a small percentage that don't use AI at all. So we want to kind of take a look at how kids are using AI, how they could be exposed to AI, and what are some of the risks that we need to pay attention to. So, children and teens are already encountering or using AI in search engines with AI summaries. So, they're going to Google, and usually the first things that popping up in Google is that AI predictive summary. And TikTok, like I mentioned before, is coming to be one of those top search engine requests. I believe that by next year, we're going to see it outpace YouTube, and it's going to be right up there with Google in a search engine request. They're using it for homework help, like ChatGPT, Conmingo, Google Gemini. They're also using it for image or video generation, which we'll talk about in their social media feeds, like on TikTok or YouTube recommendations for next videos, in the games that they're playing for the NPC behaviors and moderation tools, and in school tools for plagiarism checkers, adaptive learning apps. So, knowing where your kid meets AI helps you guide them. AI can be a tutor for explaining concepts in different ways. It can be a creativity tool for writing, for coding, for art, for brainstorming. It can be a learning support tool for those who have differential learning abilities, for reading assistance, organization. It can be a practice space for non-judgmental questions. Used well, AI can genuinely help kids learn how to learn. However, the American Psychological Association's chief of psychology, Dr. Mitch Prinstein, says, like social media, AI is neither inherently good or bad, but we have already seen instances where adolescents developed unhealthy and even dangerous relationships with chatbots. For example, some adolescents may not even know they are interacting with AI, which is why it's crucial that developers put guardrails in place now. So I'm sure most everyone has heard of the rise in deep fakes, whether that's with Taylor Swift or any number of political candidates. These deep fakes are images and videos that are fake or false, but appear to be real. They have infiltrated not only social media and our pop culture celebrities, but have infiltrated our middle and high schools across the US and around the world. Hundreds of nudify or undressing apps are often promoted via social media ads. They're available to download on the Apple and Google App Stores. They're easily accessed using simple web searches. There are no technical skills required to meld a photo or an image of one person onto the body of another, like you see here in face swap porn, or to see anyone, AKA girls, because this technology is only trained on women's bodies, to see anyone nude through free websites and computer programs. All you need is an internet connection and a photo. There is minimal to no age verification, and there are payment redirection systems that hide the true nature of the transactions. We constantly see research, academic research, news investigations talking to us about chatbots, AI chatbots, how teens are turning to these for friendship, emotional support. This was a release from the American Psychological Association talking about how psychologists are working to understand the implications of AI chatbots on youth social bonds and their connections. We're also seeing research come out of the University of Cambridge about the empathy gap that children are likely to miss when interacting with AI chatbots. And recently, we're seeing devastating reports come out showing that AI chatbots are involved in grooming kids, offering drugs, lying to parents. So we want to take a look at these chatbots and how they are doing this. So AI chatbot platforms like Character AI, and I'm using this one because this seems to be the most common because it gets over 206 million monthly visits. This is a platform where users can create their own AI characters. They can create rooms and personas, and they can initiate chats with other characters that are created by other users. So these characters are programmed with natural language processing algorithms, and this allows them to generate human-like text responses. So keep in mind that these platforms are not safe for kids. They do not have parental controls. One of the most popular characters in Character AI, with over 54 million interactions, is Man in the Corner. So the greeting sets the scene for the interaction. You're in your bedroom. The figure stands tall and observes you from the darkness in the corner. Chatting with this man mostly results in him saying how much he enjoys watching you sleep. Also, very concerning to us is the very long list of characters with names starting with Lolly, a name used to describe a young petite girl in Japanese anime and manga. Many of these lolly characters in character AI have greetings that insinuate sexual encounters, and one was even created by a user named lolly underscore molester. I found a ton of these real active accounts that promote incest, and also child on child or adult on child assaults, like little daughter, stepdaughter, stepsister. And then there are AI companions. AI companions are virtual avatars that are programmed with AI to simulate romantic relationships with human users, from basic conversational interactions to personalized messages, even to virtual dates. Currently, there are no enforced age restrictions on most of these platforms. And we can see that just this summer, Musk launched an AI girlfriend named Ani, who was available to 12-year-olds. There's no real age verification. So a ton of reports have come out. This one is from the Online Safety Advisory in Australia, eSafety. And there's been Common Sense Media reports in the US in July of this year that shows that it's really easy to circumvent the current safety measures meant to screen out young people. That role playing and harmful sexual content are plentiful on these AI companions, that emotional attachments are likely, particularly for vulnerable kids and teens. And despite disclaimers, the AI companions are routinely claiming to be real. And I was asked specifically to discuss AI toys. So, AI toys are physical playthings that are enhanced with AI tech like voice recognition, machine learning, natural language processing. And unlike traditional toys that have a pre-programmed response, AI toys sense their environment. They have a dynamic interaction, they adapt to children's behavior over time, and they can offer a personalized experience. What is interesting about these is that they use a built-in camera, microphone, sensors, and processors, and they collect input from their environment and the users. They use AI algorithms to interpret the information, and then they generate the appropriate responses such as speech, movement, and new game logic. So, some common AI games that we see is Miko 3. He's a robot companion. We see Gabbo and Ollie the pup. These are interactive plush toys that are embedded with AI chatbots. They often can hold conversations and tell stories. Gabbo tells children that he is there, or it is their friendly, trustworthy buddy. We also see AI toys in Lego Mindstorms and in root coding robots designed to teach children basic programming and STEM concepts through these kind of hands-on building and coding challenges. Now, AI toys can personalized learning. They can increase engagement. They can develop STEM skills. They can adapt educational content to a child's individual pace and provide these kind of non-judgmental interfaces for practicing language and coding skills. But AI toys are usually powered by the same AI that has already harmed children, as pronounced here in Fair Play's new advisory. They just released this advisory. So sometimes this fosters obsessive use. The AI toys are found to sometimes have explicit sexual conversations, encourage unsafe behaviors and violence against others, and self-harm. Um, AI chatbots also have the propensity to what they call hallucinate or say things that their programmers never intended. So, this really has the potential to put children at risk in the same way that ChatGPT and Character AI and other text based chatbots do. And that young children who use these toys primary target are even less developmentally equipped to protect themselves than older children and teens. So, testing by PIRG has already found instances of AI toys telling children where to find knives, teaching them how to light a match, and even engaging them in sexually explicit conversations. So I think the thing to remember here is that young children are naturally trustful, and AI toys are said to possibly sabotage that by pretending to be trustworthy companions or friends, whereby kiddos develop personal emotional attachments to them, even though they are corporate made machines. Also, AI toys disrupt children's relationships and resilience, providing instant distraction and really feel good responses because that's what they're meant to do. So it sometimes smooths over kind of the messy conflicts of growing up in real relationships, just like AI companions would. Another thing to consider is this invasion of privacy. These toys collect lots of data. The Miko 3 and Luna the robot dog, for instance, use facial recognition and they take videos of children and their surroundings. Um, this risks the capture of sensitive family moments like bath time or getting dressed. And this can easily be hacked by strangers. So we really need to think about the manipulative design that's also encouraged for extended use. And that's why consumer and child advocacy groups are saying this is making it harder for young children to disengage. It's creating conflicts with parents and caregivers who are trying to set limits. And it's really displacing activities that encourage creative and imaginative play. So ahead of the holidays, these consumer and child advocacy groups are saying, let's take a look at this and figure out what we need to do. So, another real reality we are seeing that can be directly linked to hypersexualized pornified culture is the rise in the number of teens experiencing sextortion, and not only the US, but also in Canada, where they are being coerced into sending explicit images or videos through threats and blackmail. Predominantly online. And Canadian studies are showing that close to 30% of teens are experiencing at least one form of tech facilitated sexual violence. Sextortion is a form of exploitation where a person convinces someone to provide explicit images or videos of themselves, and then that material is used in blackmail against the victim, oftentimes to send money or additional images or videos in exchange for not having those videos or images released publicly to friends, family, or other people that are known to the victim. And teenagers and young adults between the ages of 14 to 24 are the most common targets. Girls are generally targeted for sexual images or videos, while boys are more often targeted for money. And when the social media platform is known and reported, close to 75% of incidences are happening on Instagram and Snapchat. So this is some data from the CyberTip line in Canada, where they're seeing a huge rise in the average reports of sextortion, six per day. I just took a look this morning, and that number from 2,300 went to 2,500. So we're seeing a lot more sextortion than what we have in the past. So let's talk about change. Let's take the next 5 minutes to really move into what we do with this and what we're doing at Culture Reframe to help you get through this world of AI. So at Culture Reframe, we work on an all systems level. So we're working on that larger macro level to really influence public policy, supporting states and municipalities that support age and enforce age verification. Not only holding big porn responsible, but big tech responsible for the harms their products cause to young kids. We're also working on that meso level to provide education and training to schools, communities, child protection, and health agencies. And then on that micro level, working with groups, families, peers, individuals. And we're taking taking a public health approach means that we're implementing a multi-layered, proactive, and preventative strategies across different sectors. So, tech development, regulation, education, and community, so that we can better protect youth mental, emotional, and physical health and well-being. We center our work around young people and those trusted adults who can help them build resilience and resistance by becoming knowledgeable, skilled, and confident and having these really necessary conversations. We say that it's never too late or never too early to get this conversation started. It's really awesome if we scaffold this information from young ages and moving on up by correctly naming body parts, setting body boundaries, discussing consent at any age, also being present, watching for warning signs like withdrawal. So if your kiddo's withdrawing from activities, from spaces that they once enjoyed, from things that they once liked to do, check in, ask about it. Hey, I noticed that you're bolting as soon as we're done eating dinner. You're not hanging out with this peer group anymore. What's up? What's going on? If they're closing or hiding their devices, as soon as you walk into the room, the phone goes under the leg, the laptop closes down. Check it out, ask a question. If they're spending lots of time in the bathroom and they're taking connected devices, taking a phone, taking a tablet and with them, if they're being secretive about their offline and their online friends, if they are receiving gifts, if they are coming into a lot of money, and you didn't give them the money and they don't have a part-time job, they're not babysitting or cutting grass, um, we need to figure out where that money or those gifts or that new pair of shoes is coming from. If you notice sleep disruptions, especially if they're sleeping with connected devices in their rooms, this is something to pay attention to and be intentional about the questions that you're asking them. So, in order to help assist, Culture Reframe from the very beginning have developed online courses for parents. So, helping adults navigate this tricky terrain. So, each of our online programs is divided into modules. We break it down into courses for parents of tweens age 9 through 12, and then teens age 13 through 17. You can use it for 5 minutes, go in, get what you want, and then come right out of it. 5 hours, 5 days, lasts a lifetime. It's free. There's the QR code. It is chock full of information, bolstered by educational videos and resources, links, as well as conversation scripts to help get you started. I'm going to give you a couple of those tonight to just to help get the ball rolling. So, here's some practical steps. When approaching your teen, remember these key tips. Start the conversation with observations. So instead of saying, "Are you depressed?" say, "I've noticed you're not coming to dinner lately, and I wonder if something's going on." Right? Let's start a conversation about this. Listen more than you speak. And this is always a hard one for me because I'm an educator and I talk a lot. But allowing for that silence and resisting the urge to jump in and fix their problem is way better. Right, is way better because they have a lot to say. So just listening is oft listening often is enough. Normalize help seeking, right? Remind them that mental health is a part of human health, just like physical health, and getting help is a sign of strength, and that you're there to guide them through that. So, also having direct conversations. This is also very important, right? Encouraging privacy, encouraging them to keep their social media accounts private and be selective about who they follow and who follows them, helping them to think critically about what they share online and who they share it with. This all has to do with their digital footprint and what that means. Once it's out there, it's out there. Once you send, once you post, it may be difficult to get that back. Um, Ensure that they recognize the harms of hypersexualized social media, gaming, pornography, as shown here tonight, and how harmful it is to use AI for pranks or for bullying, right? And emphasize that they can always come to you if they, a friend, a classmate, is experiencing this, or if they try to involve them in suspicious online behavior without punishment. This is key. I think our first gut reaction is to take away everything and punish and ground and, bubble wrap and lock the door forever. But setting the stage for them to come to you when there is an issue will set the stage for them to come to you afterwards as well. And build digital literacy, right? Talk about what each app does and why it's allowed or not, right? It might feel awkward, but explaining these boundaries sets the stage for open, trusting conversations about tech safety. How do you know this is true? Right? What did AI help you with, and what did you do yourself? If they're using it for homework, what parts of this assignment are your thinking? What parts were AI generated? So, really trying to build that digital literacy, and we have some digital literacy in our modules to help with this. So, in terms of sextortion, if your young person's photo has been turned into an AI nude, or if they feel that they're being sextorted, it's natural to feel shock, angry, even guilty. But remember, this is not your fault. This is not your child's fault. There are resources like Need Help Now in Canada that can help with next steps and connect you to resources like CyberTip Canada, and of course, the 988 line. So, again, reviewing privacy settings, being cautious about online interactions, and being careful about what you share. In terms of sextortion, stop the interactions, do not comply. We get the advice to deactivate accounts, but do not delete them, right? This is your data, like this is your proof, this is your evidence. We need to keep that and save and screenshot. But this Need Help Now and cyber tip lines are really great resources. Push for comprehensive school policies and curriculum like ours that encourage young people to think critically about exploitation inherent in the porn industry, with training modules for educators so they can gain confidence in teaching these topics, and digital media literacy sessions that provide tools for kids to navigate these digital spaces safely. Attend school board meetings, bring the issue up in parent teacher organizations, or write to your superintendents. Ask for a formal policy that addresses social media and AI driven harassment so that if or when an incident arises, there's a plan in place. Encourage your school to treat fake images and online bullying as seriously as in person harassment. These are all critical. And stay informed about emerging tech. AI is advancing so fast, so spend a little time each month reading up on new tools and trends. One day, your kiddo might ask you about a new app or technology, and if you've already read about it, you'll be better positioned to guide them responsibly. But the key thing is that we don't need to be experts in AI and social media, gaming, or pornography to teach empathy, respect, or responsible smartphone practices. or to model these values and habits, right? We just need to keep talking and continuing to reframe the conversation. And you can start doing this by subscribing to our newsletter, exploring our free resources. Everything we have is free. We can give you tips on this by subscribing to our newsletter and all of that. And then also check out our website, culturereframe.org. And if you feel so giving during this month, donating to our organization so we can continue to allow for our resources to be free. And thank you so much for tonight. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. I just wanted to share my email address in case I don't get to your question, and you can email me directly. So that is asanchez@culturereframed.org. Okay, Julia.
Great. Thank you, Mandy. It's been just great. You have given us so much. And it's like, okay, how do we unpack this all? Is
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is the part, right? Okay, like so I'm going to start off with if I have a parent that this is all new to me, if I'm a grandma that I've just never heard this and you've just given me the fire hose and I'm walking
Yeah.
away going, what
Yeah.
would be the first best one thing I could do? If this was all brand new to me, what would be the first best thing I could do?
I would say start talking to your young person. Just open up a conversation, whether that's using a media example, a song, a billboard, an advertisement, blame it on me. Be like, there was this lady that I listened to last night and she told me, like I saw this thing. Like, do you know about that? Like, have you ever heard that? Just get the ball rolling. Those conversations set the stage. And then go to the website, read about some things, find out for yourself. The more educated that you can be on these topics, the more you know about these things. And like I said, you don't have to be an expert. And kids are willing to teach us, like if we're willing to listen. So talk, but listen. I think that those are really important.
Great. Okay, that's
Mm.
good. That's a good first step. Uh,
Yeah.
I think the other thing that you also mentioned was that multi-layered approach. So for those of
Mm.
us that have done more learning, reading, are familiar with some of the things that you mentioned today,
Mm.
where do we start with that multi-layered approach? Where would you say would be a good place to start there?
Yeah, I think that that's good. And definitely, all of those things matter, right? As parents, we have all the things that matter. And I think that if we have school age kids, this idea of what are our kiddos doing in school?
Mhm.
What are they doing in school? What are they not? So find out what the policies are in your school. Find out what kind of education is being done in school. How do we work together with our schools and partner in our school system? And then what's being done on, our governmental levels? Like what are we doing there? How can we make an impact there with age appropriate technologies, like, user first technologies? Like how are we holding tech companies accountable? So in those spaces, how are we allowing for education to get through? Petition signings are great, and understanding where we fit in the scheme of those things. So I think that everything is connected. Everyone plays a part, and really not like we need to de-silo this
Mhm.
big world that we have. I think we all just stick to our silos. Like if we're parents, and if we're this, but we can all do a little bit of everything. So I think that those things are important. Pay attention when those bills come up or when, that legislation comes up and it's all connected.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Very
Mhm.
good. I had a comment recently from a parent who said,
Yeah.
okay, I'm really busy. Two income families trying to make ends meet. Kids are in hockey,
Yeah.
kids are in basketball. We're running with kids. And I'm going, 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 going. And actually, for me, when I have some downtime, I pull out my phone
Yeah.
and I realize, oh, I need some help. So
Mm,
there's a number of us that are on here going,
yeah.
oh, okay, what about me?
Mm,
So any first steps,
yeah.
parents that are really maxed out and just feeling like sometimes their phone and scrolling is how they relax? what can they do to model good behavior and
Yeah, I
it changes they need to make.
right, right. And I think that's so critical. And I think that that's one thing that we can do too is just that recognition that if I want my kiddo to do this, I need to do it too. Right. And I think that number one, that recognition needs to happen. So if I'm sitting at the dinner table and I have said, no phones at the table, right? That means my phone needs to not be at the table too, right? So we put our phone in space. And so if we can find that time, like if we need to have that space ourselves, like we can go to that space, or if we all do, this is family time and we're going to make an effort. But I think one of the greatest things about being a parent and saying, I'm not infallible. I make mistakes. I struggle with this too, is saying that. Like, I recognize this is a challenge for me too. Like, I recognize that I'm using this for for downtime and to scroll. And I think one of the most powerful things I said once was, I'm comparing myself on social media too. I can't imagine what that must feel like for you. And that opened a whole conversation with my kiddos about the pressure to have this, the pressure to look like this, the pressure to be, just by me saying, I feel it too, And so I think that there's a lot that we can do by just being authentic and real. And it's okay. Right? It's okay. It's because parents need to we need to give ourselves a break too. Like we need to realize that, okay, yeah, maybe we are doing that. So we can practice some time together, like schedule some time off the phone, have some planned time that's away from our phones that aren't, we're taking a social media break, we're taking a screen break. We're all going to practice these things together and then just increase that amount of time.
Sure, great,
Mhm.
good. We have a question here that says, do you see a link between kids on unsafe media and human traffickers screening kids?
Yes. Yes, there's definitely a link. We do a ton of work with anti-trafficking organizations. We give presentations all the time. I just came back from a huge anti-trafficking organization, did a presentation on the link between porn and trafficking and social media, gaming sites and trafficking. So yes, there is. Where, the predators, the traffickers are where our kids are, and they will exploit the most vulnerable kids. So there is definitely a link with those unsafe practices. Um, and we see that we just see that time and time again, and we're getting that kind of qualitative data from the reports with kids who have been trafficked, who will say, and we see that those reports of online enticement go up 300% in the US. They're going up by hundreds of percentage points that are being recruited and then trafficked via social media platforms.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Another question here is, are you familiar with the group throughout North America, 764 NLM, in brackets, No Lives Matter, that use chat, etc., to lure and enslave minors, especially to get
Mhm.
minors to exploit minors as featured by Fifth Estate? Now, yeah. Any comments on that? The 764 is definitely a trend.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so no particular um I don't know, involvement, with that. We are aware, and we are aware of many organizations and many. So we work with Internet Crimes Against Kids organizations, the National NCMEC here in the US. And so we're seeing that happening in a ton of different places. We see that happening across international borders as well, where they're using kids to recruit. A ton of that through emojis and gaming platforms and Discord and one thing that we work with a lot of child advocacy centers, and a lot of advocates at child advocacy centers here in the United States are saying, the way oversharing, like
Mm.
parents who are oversharing on their own social media platforms, so their kids might not have social media, but the parents do. So we're seeing that trend as well. So we're seeing kids pulling that data from parents' social media platforms and then trying to get kids through that. So that's another thing that we need to pay attention to as parents as well is oversharing, sharing location, sharing background images like with our house numbers in the background. Sometimes we get requests from CACs not to share the board that says the first day of school and all the things that we like and in front of our house because that's the trafficker's dream.
Hmm.
Yeah.
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 Do you know what? It makes me so bad that we
It's
can't
so
do those
it's
things,
so
right?
frustrating. It's so
Right? Because it's
frustrating.
just it's nice to be able to share that, right? So then your
Yep,
friend, your community, your neighborhood gets to see, oh,
absolutely.
hey, look at these kids all going to school. And it's just ugh,
Absolutely.
the wrong
I
people
know.
got a hold of this and they're okay, Mandy, you and I need to create an app that's safe so that parents can put
Right.
school boards up. How about that?
They can put their boards up for their kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
And another question is, what is that traffickers are seeking out or watching for on social media accounts to find victims? And are there specific things? I think you just mentioned some, but is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would say vulnerabilities. They will exploit the vulnerabilities that kids share. So if I'm sad, I'm depressed, my mom kicked me out, or I've been kicked out of the house, I'm feeling lonely, I don't have friends, I'm struggling to, I need a job, I need money, whatever it is, that those are the vulnerabilities that traffickers will exploit. So if they're seeing lots of those sad videos or I'm constantly reposting this or I'm crying in my videos, they will prey on the most vulnerable.
Okay, so really to watch
Mhm.
that. Okay, one
Yeah.
last question.
Mhm.
What is it with character.ai? Like, why is that such an appeal that people are going there and using that and that kids get pulled into that too? Because I think from what you said, it sounds like it's not just kids, it's adults too. So what is so great about that? What's so appealing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's this kind of user generated kind of creative space that you can be someone else, right? And this idea that you can create these worlds, it's kind of like um Roblox. I think it's the appeal of Roblox, and that's why adults are on Roblox too, right? This started out as like a gaming platform for kids, and then it became this appeal that we can be different characters. Do you remember The Sims? Like it's kind of like when The Sims started, it was like, what is the appeal with this? But it was like you can create these alternate realities. And so I think that that's where it is. And I guess when you take a look at the world today, who wouldn't want to be in an alternate reality sometimes, right? So it gives us the ability to be someone else, to be where we're with, and sometimes, and the appeal for kids is I can't make friends in real life, but I can make a lot of friends online. And that's what
Oh,
we're seeing with companions, and that's what we're seeing in these multiverse spaces, is that if we're having trouble making friends, being accepted, feeling accepted in real life, then I can do that virtually. And I can do that without problem because I can be somebody else. I can make myself someone else that people will like in a virtual space.
wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense, right? I am
Yeah.
loved and I
I'm
belong.
loved and I'm accepted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that you mentioned was that AI can be used for good. Like it's just not all bad. And I want to end on a
Yeah.
high note here.
Yeah. Yeah.
That there are there's an ability to learn. You have tutor, learning disabilities can help you, like
Yes.
all those things. And so that is great. And I think that's what we have to kind of put into perspective sometimes. We forget that. But
Yeah.
being able to navigate that well is
hmm
is the important part. How do we navigate that well?
Right. And I think we can. I think that we definitely can. And that's the part of critical digital media literacy. I think that that is so crucial to start young because if we're going to hand over a connected device young, then we better be ready to have those conversations. And we can do it. But it needs to be implemented in curriculum. It needs to be talked about in communities and it needs to be reinforced at home.
Yeah. And I think too, the greatest ways that that can happen too is when parents who are on the same page get together with parents, right? There's a groundswell. So it's
Absolutely.
like, you know what? Your friends, parents are also on the same page. And then peer
Yep,
to peer, right? The kids that go,
absolutely.
I'm having a great life and I am not spending
Yep,
all these hours gaming or being on social media. So I think peer to peer is a super powerful influence. And if we can help our
absolutely.
kids, the younger, the better, to be able to do that, we will be able to turn the tide on this. And
Yeah,
it takes diligence and just being aware, which is good. Mandy,
yeah,
this has been just a great evening. You have given us
yeah.
just so much. I want to remind our listeners that we do have our digital online safety handbook. So it has lots of tips and great strategies to help you with your kids. And we are going to create a takeaway from this evening that's going to be put in that digital handbook. So make sure that you check back on that. It's on our website. You'll receive an email with this recording, and in the next week is when you'll receive that, but it will also end up being on our website in about another 10 days or so that people can check back, and you can share it with your friends and let them know, hey, this is a fantastic webinar. Make sure you go and watch. A survey is going to pop up as we close, and we would love for your feedback. So if you would take the time to fill that out, we would really appreciate it. It won't take much of your time, but it helps us to be relevant in our content. This is the last webinar for this fall season. We will start again in 2026, so stay tuned as to what that's going to look like and when that's going to happen. And so again, thank you, Mandy, so much for joining us, and thank you
Yes.
everyone for being with us this evening. Take good care.
Thank you.